Hi there, this is Life Prepper, and today I want to talk about it's talking about four uncommon sense guidelines for food safety and nutrition. I was reading up on this, and I was really kind of like, okay, you take a lot of things for granted. So it's talking about, a matter of fact, that's what it says. Many of us take for granted that the food we buy is safe to eat, and we do. We see when we go into the store, they know where it comes from, they've done all the safety procedures, and it is safe to eat. Yet, you hear this? Yet. That's right, folks. Yet. Salamanders showing up in eggs and cucumbers. E. coli is finding its way into ground beef and spinach. Botulism is in potluck potato salad and bits of metals in the kids' favorite mac and cheese. It's hard to know what's safe to eat anymore. Now, and that's something I didn't even think about metal showing up in the kids' mac and cheese. But of course they're processing it, so I guess flakes of metal can peel off into it. Um, and to complicate matters further, says some safe handling regulations like the 60-day waiting period on soft ripened cheese in the U.S. may actually raise our risk for lethal levels of littering. Well, and that again is where it falls into the antibiotics. And as I was talking about my other one, the antibiotics. In fact, we've got so used to going and taking medications from the doctors and all this other stuff. Our body's just destroyed a lot of its natural abilities to fight a lot of this stuff. Now, and it says even if you have time to grow your own food, there's still a chance that E. coli, salmonella, or literally might be lurking in your soil after you pick your way through the minefield of foodborne pathogens at the grocery store, farmer's market, and your own backyard. Then there's still the whole debate about nutritional contents of industrially grown food home versus homegrown or organic grown food to natives. Now, I know there's people that say they would not buy store stuff at the store. There's people that counts on it. Now, and then there's people who will go to market and will buy homegrown. Now you've got these the raw food the raw vegans. There's a name for them, raw foodies or something like that, and they eat nothing but fresh and raw food all the time. Now a lot of them goes out and looks for organic stuff, but they spend year round having to look for fresh food. But there's times I know they would have to go to the store and buy um, fresh food. I mean, it's just all it is to it. I mean, it's no buts and this about it, how it goes. Now, it says it sounds like the issues around food safety and nutrition are unnecessarily complicated. That's because to some extent they are. Food is a basic need, and it is. Humans have been locating or growing its own. It's for all human history. Risk has always been in the present, and we know that. And good nutrition has always been a moving target. Technology has made it possible for more of us to spend less of our time focused on personal food products, but will never estimate risk, of course, to the human factor. Now, so rather than change our habits whenever a study reveals data that might later be retracted, it's like saying eggs are bad. No, wait, they are good. And it's true. One day they're on there saying, don't eat the yellow, just eat the white. Now you need to eat the yellow because you need the protein in it. One day they're saying, eat this, but don't eat that. Don't eat butter, eat margarine. Margarine was designed and developed to give to cows, and it killed the cows. Margarine can last for 200 years, and the flies won't even land on it because they don't like it. Okay, so, we was eating margarine because we was told, don't eat butter. It's not good for you. So, and then you got corporation, all companies and all that, all about making money, money. That's right. Talking about some of them got, had peanut butter, allowed to have infected peanut butter be sold to unsuspecting consumers. With the how about just relying on good old common sense approaches to eating right? They say da 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 da. Yeah. Now, here's something people don't realize. Many consumers don't even know how to grow food, right? They just buy it, they sell it, whatever. And there's something called food deserts. And you're like, food desert? What is a food desert? Food deserts primarily affects a lot of low-income inner-city areas. Children barely see any fresh vegetables on table shelves, much less exotic flair like chard or carrot tops. Most cultivate knowledge about growing, storing, and preparing food has been related to the role of old wife tales in industrial countries. That's what I tell people. Our grandparents and all them, they put up food. They did all of this stuff. They did it themselves. And now I hear, the other day I was hearing someone talk, well, yeah, I get these cubes, but I don't want to buy in bulk. And I don't have a place to put it. I said, why don't you get a dehydrator and dry it? I don't want to do all that. Too much work. Too much work. And it is a lot of work if you get used to it. But when you start thinking about putting your own food up, preparing it, you knowing where it's coming from basically, and you're having it there, it's a lot to think about in that situation, how much work really it is to putting your own stuff up. I'm not saying you got to do everything, but it's something to think about. And if you got people who you got a husband or a wife or kids that's willing to help you, it makes it a lot easier to put more up. Now, so that's what food deserts is basically. They go in and it's easier to go into the store. I know someone from years ago that was raised up basically on French fries and burgers. He don't like fruit. He don't like any kind of fruit much. He don't like a lot of stuff because that's what he was raised on basically. And now he is so huge and has so many health issues that started years ago, that he's had health issues most of his life because of the fact of his eating habits. And the fact is that he does not eat anything at all that is remotely good for him. So it says, let's face it, having the skills to manage our own food safety concerns and achieve new nutrition is anything but common these days. Luckily, members of the certain networks are way ahead of the average customers in regards. And then, the thing is that there is people out there who is trying to change a lot of it. If you are able to afford it and you can get your soil tested, that's fine. Now, I go out and I haven't done it this year, but I did last year, and I went out and harvest leaves, and I use leaves for compost. And then I mean that's just what I do. I use natural compost. I use leaves for compost to help feed the plants. I set up worm bins and to catch the worm tea from underneath it, and I give them my table scraps and corn husks or whatever, leaves or things like that. But you don't give them any kind of meat or bones. And bread tends to mold, so I don't like giving them bread. But I give them my banana peels and things like that, so they break all that down. So I'm pouring that natural tea juice into the ground where the plants are and feeding my ground. So that's something to think of also. And then you need to think about also what kind of spray you're going to put on your plants as well. Now there's several natural remedies you can use. You can put a little bit of dishwasher liquid, some water, and use that to spray help deter it. They do not like red pepper. You can use a little bit of red pepper on your plants. A little bit of caffeine. You got to be careful how much you use. You can use too much, and it can actually cause more damage than good. It can overload the plants. So you can still use things to help naturally get rid of some of this. But this is a lot to think about now. It says right here that 1.4 trillion is spent annually on food in the U.S. alone, and with food and beverage countries spends 136 million on advertising each year in the U.S. To get consumers to buy their stuff. Now, it's it's just ain't it something other. It said if supported by personal opinion that products like pre-washed lettuce are just marketing gimmicks to trick us into spending $6 for a batch of greens that would sell for half that at a local farmer's market. I started digging into look for research that supported this story, and I couldn't find anything. Ain't that something? In wading through hundreds of studies, I find did find a few interesting commonalities. First, no matter where they live, vegetarians from India or anywhere else for matter seems to be at risk for malnourishment in the form of vitamin B12 deficiency. This is not entirely surprising since B12 is mostly bioactive for humans, absorptions from animal products. Next, some studies suggest that the prevalence of B12 deficiency was higher in the West than in India. However, this was likely skewed data, he's saying. And many other scientists studied, particularly in India, actually has much higher risk of undiagnosed B12 deficiency. Finally, although the status data on this here is inclusive. Now, is there's a study showed two interesting one is found in drinking water in parts of India did contain absorbent form of B12, and two, certain kinds of small intestinal microfiber presented in tests. Subject in India can synthesize B12. So they did have things in there that did make a difference. Now that's something else you have to think of. Um, in your if you choose to change your eating habits and you're doing, try to eat better, you want to raise more of your own food, you need to look closer at things like grass-fed cattle. You need to look closer at the type of, if you're raising GMO plants. Just because you're feeding them grass-fed doesn't mean that you've not planted GMO seeds in the ground. That's something to think about. Used to, wheat used to be considered one of the best healthy foods, and now they're saying it's not anymore because they kept breeding it and genetically changing it to the point that it is no longer uh, healthy anymore. It's sweeter tasting, but it's no longer healthy anymore. So it's a lot to think about on something like this here is the four uncommon bases here on things that we as a human beings need to think about on our food, because our health, it is showing every day when we are out there with our families and our children and our friends on what we as a human race are eating. We are become very spoiled and very codependent on running to the stores and things and all this GMO and the TV dinners and all this other stuff and the antibiotics and everything's being loaded in foods. Something to think about, isn't it? It's a lot to think about. So this live prepper here, I want you to be safe, be happy, and bless you all.